This is the Women's Outlook show on Ujima Radio 98 FM, and after that pretty intense session with Alex Rakes about hate crime, we're going to have a little break and a little bit of smooth jazz, a little bit of blues and stuff. I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by Dave Merrick. Hello, Dave.
Hi, Cheryl. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Now, Dave is part of a little jazz combo, well, a duo largely, I think, with Natalie Davis.
It is indeed. Sometimes we become a trio, and we will be a trio on the 13th of April at the Zion Community Arts Space. We'll have Brendan Whitmore with us on sax.
Lovely. I'm very fond of saxophones and things. So Brendan and Natalie specialise in the sort of old-time jazz, 1920s to 1960s, I believe.
Well, basically, yes, but we have a kind of huge commitment to the 20s and 30s, but what we're going to do at our next performance is we're going to it's entitled Ladies First, and basically we're going to focus on female jazz and blues performers from the very beginning of the recording industry up until about 1970, but it will be loaded, primarily with the 20s, 30s, 40s and 50s. But we will cover Roberta Flack.
Yeah, lovely. I've got a flyer here. It says Bessie Smith, Billie Holiday, Roberta Flack. That's right in my target zone, that is. That sounds
great.
Absolutely lovely. So I think probably without any further ado, what we should do is play a little bit of the music so that people can get some idea of the sort of songs that they're likely to hear. And when we come back from that, I'll talk more to Dave about the group and the events that they have planned.
It's one of my favourites. It's God Bless the Child. Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. So the Bible says, and it still is news. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Yes, the strong gets more, whilst the weak ones fade. Empty pockets don't ever make the grade. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Monday, you got lots of friends crowding round the door. When you're gone and spending ends, they don't come no more. Rich relations give crusts of bread and such. You can help yourself, but don't take too much. Mama may have, Papa may have, but God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Yes, God bless the child that's got his own, that's got his own. Thank you. No one to talk with, all by myself. No one to walk with, but I'm happy on the shelf. Ain't misbehaving, saving my love for you. I know for certain the one I love. I'm through with flirting, it's you that I'm thinking of. Ain't misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you. Like Jack Horner in the corner, don't go nowhere. What do I care? Your kisses are worth Like Jack Horner in the corner, don't go nowhere. What do I care? Your kisses are worth waiting for. Believe me, I don't stay out late. I've got no place to go. I'm home about it, just me and my radio. And misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you.
Oh, that was lovely. So that was Dave Merrick's band with Natalie Davis on vocals. They're called Small Days. Dave, what's the origin of the name?
Oh, okay. We don't do the song anymore, but we did a song called Small Day Tomorrow, and we were looking for a name, and somebody, one of us, I can't remember who, just came up and said, okay, Small Days, and for want of something else, we said, okay, that's fine. And I mean, that was the best part of 10 years ago. So it's kind of difficult to get away from it, really. And we like it well enough, and people know us now, so that's great.
Okay, now the main reason that you're in today is that you have a show coming up at the Zion Community Space.
Yep.
And that is going to be on Friday the 13th of April, doors 7:30.
Yes.
£10, £8 concessions.
That's right.
And that's going to be a ladies' first night with Natalie singing songs by Billie Holiday, Bessie Smith, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, Dinah Washington and Nina Simone. What an amazing collection of vocalists.
Well, indeed. And of course, these jazz divas, covered, the American Songbook comprehensively, all of them, Great American Songbook, one way or another. But what especially we're trying to do, and we've been working on this kind of area really for some time now. So, for instance, we did a sold-out tribute to Billie Holiday in their centenary year, and we sold out the American Museum in Bath with that, and we did a Bessie Smith and Billie Holiday tribute very relatively recently in September of last year at the Watershed here in Bristol, and we sold that out. So we do really enjoy these things, and basically what we're doing is we will have a screen. We call it a multimedia and live music performance. So this time out we're looking really at the dawn of the recording industry and the early classic blues, how that develops into jazz, with a very strong focus on jazz vocalists. And we will show 4 pieces of audio visual material. We've got Billie Holiday on film. We have some seemingly foundational but forgotten women jazz performers, which we're really looking forward to showing those videos.
Now, one of the reasons why you're here, of course, is because you've specifically focused on black women here. Jazz, of course, is
Sure.
very much rooted in black music. Now, particularly myself, I'm a big fan of Julie London, which sort of fades into lounge a bit. But I don't play her on the show very much because, of course, she's white. But you have specifically decided to focus on black women. Is that your decision, Nat's decision, or or just the history?
Interestingly enough, we are going to cover Julie London in this show.
Lovely.
Because we think that basically she was an important figure in jazz in the 50s, and basically we're focusing on women performers now quite clearly. Jazz is essentially in its essence an African American music, so certainly 90% of what we'll be doing will certainly be covering and giving some biographical detail of African American performers. But we felt if we were dealing with the 50s, we needed to at least take a look at Peggy Lee, for instance, and Julie London. So both Peggy Lee and Julie London are included.
Yeah, and just being slightly selfish again, and thinking of my particular interest, blues gave rise not only to jazz but also to rock and roll.
Yep.
Is there any interest in people like, for example, Big Mama Thornton?
Well, not on this in this particular show, no, but on our last show, which was that was entitled from gospel to blues, and we did have a wonderful video of Big Mama Thornton doing a Hound Dog, which of course she did, before Elvis,
and sold 2 million copies.
Absolutely, and if anybody is interested in that, then they should dial it up on YouTube. You can get a wonderful piece of footage of Mama Thornton doing Hound Dog, and it will knock your socks off, I promise you.
Yeah, an absolutely brilliant performer, and a fabulous version of a really great song.
Sure.
Which, obviously it's great that Elvis made a big hit of it, and I hope she got lots of money out of that, but it's her song. And right, okay. So there's certainly a lot of really interesting stuff that Dave and Natalie are going to be doing at that show, which is in the Zion community space, BS 13 7JW. Have we got a slightly better address for that, Dave?
Yeah. It's... I haven't got the exact address. It's Zion Community. It's called Zion Community Art Space. It's newly refurbished, or it will be when we go. It's in Bedminster Down. It's in Bishopsworth. I think it's on. In fact, I'm sure it's on Bishopsworth Road. But you can find the event if you simply go on the net. If you have it, if you type in "Ladies First." From Bessie Smith and Billie Holiday to Roberta Flack, then it will come up with the Facebook event page, and you can click that and you can find tickets. I'm sure you'll be able to pay on the day, but also you can get tickets from the venue or click the Facebook link that says tickets.
Great. Okay, well, we'll have more from Dave in just a minute, but right now it's time for some ads.
Hi.
Ujima Radio, the voice of the people. That sounds like a remarkably good idea. And hopefully you'll find a presenter who's awake. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binary people as well. I've recently got back from the west coast of Canada. I'm a little jet-lagged, so that might be the reason why things are not entirely working as they should be today. But we will get through this show. And as you may remember, before we went to the ads, we were talking to Dave Merrick of Small Days, which is a local jazz combo, I think is the phrase, isn't it, Dave? So they have a fabulous show coming up at the Zion Community Space in Bedminster on April the 13th. But I'd like to talk to Dave a little bit now about his own personal influences. Obviously, the show that they're doing on the 13th is very much about jazz divas. It's all about Natalie Davis and her singing. But Dave, you're primarily a guitarist. So where is your interest in the jazz world?
Right, okay. Well, I just love those jazz standards, and you kind of always have, really, since kind of hearing them growing up. I just love I love the melodies, and furthermore, I love the lyrics. I mean, they seem so clever. Some of those lyrics. I mean, as much as I love rock and those things, there's just something about that gave me a huge pull. I guess, like everybody in my generation, I was pulled to guitar essentially through the blues, but I really kind of liked the country blues, and I really liked finger picking. So I found my way to people like Mississippi John Hurt, to Big Bill Brunsey, to the Reverend Gary Davis. I then started to play some Irish music. I like the melodies. I like melody.
Yeah,
just
great.
Melodic stuff. So I started to do that, and then I really ran into other guitarists that were interested in jazz, and I started to collaborate with another guitarist that was interested in jazz, and we did a jazz duo. And then I met Natalie about 10 years ago, and I heard her voice, and it was just completely clear to me that she would be amazing at singing this sort of jazz, and I ran some stuff past her, and she literally kind of jumped at it, and we've been working together ever since, really, for the past 10 years.
Yep, just floated over the top of those guitar notes. which is exactly the way you want it. Of course, one of the things about jazz is it does come in many forms. Again, I'm not an expert, but I think what the sort of stuff that you play is more traditional jazz. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly. I mean, a lot of the jazz songs that we do were kind of popular songs in the day and have become jazz standards, but they haven't become jazz standards for nothing. Right. They become jazz standards because they're great songs, and it's just wonderful to approach them. And of course, if you're working with a wonderful vocalist, and I certainly am, I mean, Natalie is an absolutely amazing singer, and she has a great stage presence as well, then you know, frankly, it'd be kind of rude not to focus on that sort of material, really, because you know, she is so very good at it.
Yeah, although I mean, because one of the things I do love about a larger jazz band is the way that they will make space for everybody. It's not that the band plays and there's a singer; it's that everybody gets a chance to do their little solo thing and show off their own instrument.
Of course, and that's great. And don't misunderstand me. I absolutely love that, but I love the duo format and the trio format, and you know, we seem to get along with it pretty well. And I guess as long as it's happily chugging along in the way that it is, then we're very happy to do it. And as I say, we've done sold out shows both at the Watershed and at the American Museum in Bath, so if it isn't broken, we're not going to fix it right now.
Indeed, yeah. Now, we have a copy of A Small Day's CD in the studio, and Ben has been kindly playing us some songs for it. So let's have another piece of music now, and when we come back from that, we'll find out how you can get hold of a copy.
So it's called All of Me, a Billie Holiday special.
Take all of me. Can't you see I'm no good without you? Take my lips, I want to lose them. Take my arms, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with they cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of me? Take all of me. Can't you see I'm no good without you? Take my lips, I want to lose them. Take my arms, I'll never use them. Your goodbye left me with eyes that cry. How can I go on, dear, without you? You took the best, so why not take the rest? And baby, take all of me.
lovely. That was All of Me by Small Days, Natalie Davis and Dave Merrick there on guitar. And I was talking to Dave while we were playing the song, and apparently you don't need to buy the CD. The thing that you can do is you can just go online. You can either go to SoundCloud or you can go on YouTube, and there's all of the great songs that Small Days do are available there for free, and you can listen to them. So there you go, folks.
Sure.
No need to spend any money there. And of course, you can see them as well playing live at the Zion Community Space in Bedminster. Our website there is zionbristol.co.uk, and the phone number is 0117 9231 212. Tickets are £8 or £8 for concessions. Do you know how old you have to be for a concession, Dave?
I think if you say you're a concession, you're a concession.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's good. Anyway, just to get back to that, we were talking before we played the music about some of Dave's influences and things, and the whole guitar thing. That jazz guitar is perhaps not the thing that jazz players are most famous for. I think of jazz players and I think of trumpeters. I think of saxophone players, of pianists. So jazz guitar is slightly unusual, but of course, if you come into it from blues, I guess that's not the case.
Yeah, I guess that's right. And I am a guitarist, so guitarists know about other guitarists, and I mean there are many, Joe Paz, Wes Montgomery, people like that, and. Many of them played. Joe Pass famously did a whole series of duo numbers with the wonderful Ella Fitzgerald, covering the kind of Great American Songbook, the kind of jazz standards therein. And I guess that's one of my absolute, favourite albums really of all time, called Joe and Ella. And that's a wonderful, set of songs, and I guess it's also true that often you had jazz guitarists that played solo jazz guitar. People like Charlie Bird, people like Barney Kessel, also playing in ensembles, but often playing solo material, and of course sometimes, as I said, appearing in duos. So for someone that's immersed in guitars, jazz guitar is something that I listen to and seek out, because that's something that you have to do if you aspire to kind of learning it or emulating it in any way. You really do have to listen to this stuff.
Yeah, and it's a little bit more perhaps involved than playing rock and roll, in that it tends to be more picking than chords.
Well, yes, I guess. Although there are some mercurial guitarists out there in every genre, and
course, yeah.
I am but a traveller on the long journey. So I do my level best, and we do a good performance, and it would be absolutely great to see yourself and your listeners at the Zion Community Arts Space on the 13th of April.
Well, thank you ever so much for coming in,
My
Dave.
pleasure.
I'm sure that we're going to have a whole bunch of people come along to see you. If they've listened to Natalie sing, how can they not come in and listen to you?
Quite so. Can I give you that YouTube address again?
Very quickly, you've got about 10 seconds.
Small Days Jazz and Blues. If you type that into your search engine, we'll come up, and then you can have our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us for free all day if you like.
Alrighty, it's 1 o'clock.